Assalamu alaikum and good evening to everyone. A very warm welcome to all participants joining us from different parts of the world. I am Dr. Hafiz Muhammad Saqib Mushtaq, founder and lead coordinator of the Global Entomologist Network. And it is my pleasure to open Gen Seminar 7 entitled Classifying Life, the Power of Insect Taxonomy in Science, Conservation and Commerce. Insect taxonomy, the science of identifying and classifying insects. It's often viewed as a specialized academic field. However, its importance extends well beyond, research institutions, and the accurate insect identification underpins agricultural productivity, biodiversity conservation, biosecurity, and local as well as international trade. For students, it provides a strong foundation for learning biological and applied sciences. For researchers, it ensures scientific accuracy and global relevance. For farmers and agribusinesses, correct identification leads to effective pest management, reduce losses, and sustainable crop production. For the industrialists, traders, and exporters, insect taxonomy supports quality control, regulatory compliance, and market access. And for environmental practitioners and policymakers, it plays a critical role in conserving ecosystems and managing natural resources responsibly. Today's seminar will explore how taxonomy supports better decision making, strengthens eco-friendly pest management strategies, and bridges the gap between science, conservation, and commerce. Now, allow me to briefly introduce our forum, Gen. The Global Entomologist Network is an international platform that connects entomologists, students, researchers, and stakeholders worldwide. Gen is committed to promoting collaboration, mentorship, knowledge sharing, and capacity building to advance sustainable agriculture and environmental stewardship. With these remarks, let us begin this important and timely discussion. I now have the pleasure of inviting the Gen Ambassador, Miss Asma Talib, to introduce our esteemed speaker for the today's seminar. Thank you very much. Miss Asma Talib, please.
Thank you, Dr. Saqib. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's seminar, Dr. Jawad Hassan Mirza, a researcher at King Saud University, Saudi Arabia. Dr. Jawad is a trained entomologist and ecologist with more than a decade of experience in taxonomy, biodiversity studies, biological control, and molecular identification. He has been associated with King Saud University since 2014, working at the Ecology Research Laboratory, where he contributes to advanced research in systematic and applied pest management. He, he earned his PhD in entomology from King Saud University in March 2021. Dr. Jawad has also served as a lecturer of entomology at Muhammad Nawaz Sharif University of Agriculture, Mansua, Pakistan, and worked at National Institute of Biotechnology and Genetic Engineering, NIBG, Pakistan, on the Barcode of Life project, where he conducted extensive field surveys and applied DNA barcoding for insect identification. Today, he will share his insights on the role of insect taxonomy in accurate species identification, sustainable pest management, and its growing importance in science, conservation, and commerce. Dr. Jawad Hassan Mirza, we warmly welcome you and invite you to take a floor.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me and can see the screen.
Yeah, we can hear you. However, your screen is invisible.
Oh, okay. Uh, okay, right. Let me solve this problem. It works fine now.
Yes. Just, yeah, now it's good. Please.
It's working, right? Okay,
Yeah,
thank
thank
you.
you.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Saqib, Hafiz Muhammad Saqib Mushtaq, for organizing this session regarding the classifying life, insect taxonomy in science and conservation and commerce. Uh, Thank you to you and to your team. As usual, you are doing an excellent job and a great job to bring the scientific knowledge to the community in an easy way so that everyone can practice and get a hands ready knowledge for their daily life. Today's topic about the power of insect taxonomy, I hope that I will do justice with it. Um, I do not consider myself as a taxonomist. However, I have had the privilege to be in the great lab uh, where the researchers and doctors have been practicing and are practicing the ethics and concepts of taxonomy in a very prestigious and very careful way. And during my time over there, I also had the opportunity to witness some great PhDs to earn their PhD. Among them, I would name Dr. Saqib, and I think Dr. Saqib has shared his PhD presentation in the group, and that is enough to, I think, show the power of taxonomy, how the problems going with the identification or with the species distribution or speciation can be solved, or what the situation occurs. So that is really a great presentation, and I do recommend everyone to have a look at it. With that, the taxonomy, when we start with the subject of taxonomy, we cannot ignore the name of the father of taxonomy, who is Carlos Linnaeus, who actually, uh, what we can say, established the science of taxonomy with the basis of binomial nomenclature and hierarchical classification. We will see these terminologies in an easier definition later on. And this is what I will try to do, that I will try to deliver the information as much as I have in the easiest way for everyone to understand. And obviously the topic is so much diverse and big, uh, but I am trying to deliver it for the students, for the researchers, for the professionals, so that everyone can get benefit from it. So with that, the subject taxonomy, it is everywhere in the life. It is not only in the insects or in the mites or in the plants, but you will find taxonomy, the subject itself or the concepts of taxonomy everywhere. From the birth till death, when we go to the jobs, we see different categories. We go in the supermarket. Even the taxonomy, the concepts of taxonomy are expanded in the vast universe where the classification and the categorization occurs in the whole universe. So starting from the smallest living being on the earth towards the vastness of the universe, the taxonomy is expanded. So what we know about the taxonomy, we have, I think, bachelor's and master's students who have memorized or read or have read these definitions through the books or through their lectures or different places. They have seen these definitions. So there are some repeated terminologies going with the classification, identification, naming, categorization. So all of these keywords do describe taxonomy. This is what we know. So on the other side of this slide, we can see the hierarchical classification where the kingdom is at the base, which holds large number of organisms, and then we go specifically to a single species. So what taxonomy is doing, as what we know, is we are classifying the living organisms, or we are identifying the living organisms, or we are naming them through a system of binomial nomenclature uh, defined by Carlos Linnaeus. And similarly, down in this graph, this is to show that all the individuals are related to each other by some means. So this is the way to classify or to find a relationship among the individuals. This is what taxonomy is doing, and this is what we have read the definitions. But what we should know about the taxonomy, the concept is way bigger than that. It is just not about identifying or naming or categorizing or classifying. This is the simplest concept. The actual concept is way bigger than that. So we should start with the basic unit of classification of the taxonomy, which is species. So when we talk about anything that starts from the scratch, so at the grassroots level, there is species. In each genus or in each hierarchical categorization, I will just go back in the previous slide to show you that in each of these ranks, these are called as taxonomic ranks. The genus is a taxonomic rank, family is a taxonomic rank, order is a taxonomic rank, class is a taxonomic rank. So as big as we can go, the basic unit will be species, which means that every class will have a basic species from where it started. Every order of the insect or any other organism will be based on a single species from where that order started. Every family will be based on a single species from where this family actually started. Every genus will have is one single species from where this genus actually started. So in scientific terminology, we call them type species. So each rank has the type of the next rank. For example, if we have a genus, it will have a type species based on which this genus was identified. So every family will have its own type genus based on which that family was identified. Every order will have its own type family based on which this order was identified. So hence at the base or the basic unit is species. So whatever we talk about, and this is, I think we have discussed in our laboratory many times as the basic concept, because when we go into the complex things, we usually tend to forget what are the basics. So no one should forget that the basic unit, it is like a building block. When you have different bricks and you want to make a building, so the building of taxonomy is based on small bricks, which is species. So they can be different. Some bricks are for the border wall, some bricks are for the inside room, some bricks are for the roof, some bricks are for the pavements. So this, the building of taxonomy in any subject, the basic unit will remain the same, which is the species. And in the taxonomy, it is very important to understand why we have these taxonomic ranks, why we have a genus, why we have a family, why we have an order, why not from just directly from the kingdom Animalia we jump to the species level, why we have these different taxonomic ranks. And what is the significance and importance of morphological characters? Because here we can see that the morphological characters or morphological characters, they are usually in their structure or form, they are mostly similar in mammals, but their function is different, their structure is different. So what is the significance based on which we can categorize or we can identify the species? What is the geographic distribution and host association of that species? Because there are species which are endemic to certain area and they are have a specific distribution. This tree taken from research paper shows that the phylogenetic tree is which is developed, it is based on the specific distribution of the species over the globe. So again, taxonomy is just not identifying. We have to take care of those taxonomic ranks in which those organisms fall. What is the significance of the morphological characters? What I mean by significance of morphological characters is that which character should be used for species differentiation, which character should be used for genre differentiation, what should be used for family differentiation. This is very important to understand. And among them is the geographic distribution that we have to understand. So this is the bigger picture of taxonomy. And then we have to be aware of seasonal morphs. There are examples in the mites and insects where the season can change the morph. It does not change the species. The species remain the same, the basic unit of taxonomy. But there are factors like geographic distribution, I discussed before, and seasonal morphs, which can change the general appearance or the morphology of the organism. So it is important to understand that the taxonomy is just not identifying. It is the picture is very big. As being said, that taxonomy is described sometimes as a science and sometimes as an art, but really it's a battleground. Battleground doesn't mean that everyone is in a fight, but you are in a struggle every time. You are not stopping at a certain place. The fact remains it is a science or an art, it is for the person to decide. But the fact is that it is still a battleground and you have to fight back and forth because of the evolution or because of the continuous identification of new species and new taxon. We have uh, uh, we have practiced this concept of taxonomy is that the taxonomy is the key to the biology. What does it mean? The first line of this research paper states that the reliable taxonomy is the basis for any meaningful research in biology. We have to focus on this one word, which is meaningful. This is very critical. And this is what I would like to give to our audiences or to our listeners, that whenever you read any statement in the research paper, you have to focus on each word. Here, meaningful, this word, if we just remove it and read it again, reliable taxonomy is the basis of any research in biology, this does not make any sense, because the science of taxonomy is very sacred, as well as it is very deep. So any meaningful research in biology, it is very significantly important. Taxonomy is the foundation of all biological research, whether we go for the conservation or we go for the finding the relationship among the different species or organisms. The taxonomy plays a critical role. So the different components that how the taxonomy is helping us in the biological studies is to help in the conservation. We will see in the later later slides. In the organization means that we have to organize the species or the taxon. What I mean by taxon in the scientific terminology, that when we have an organism in front of us and we place it at a certain level of hierarchy, which is at genus or at species level, so they are called as taxa. So organization here means that the taxonomy help us to organize the individual. So from now on, from this slide, we will just talk about the insect taxonomy in particular, not in the other fields of life. So in insect taxonomy, the organization is very important. Communication means that it becomes easy to communicate with the people around the globe who are speaking or publishing in different languages. So taxonomy help us or gives us a unified language to speak to each other. We have read this examples in our bachelor's time, that there are different names for onion in different languages, but when it comes for the scientific or botanical name, this is one or a single for everyone in the whole globe. This problem was solved by Carlos Linnaeus when he developed a system of binomial nomenclature. So binomial nomenclature means should be two names for each species. First name will represent its genus association, and the second name will be its species name, and that is going to be globally recognized. And this is the people or the researchers or the scientists who are listening and who are working in the field of taxonomy, may have experienced it, that the different research papers which are in different languages, although they are writing either in French or in Russian or in their own native language, but the scientific names they use is common, is everyone can understand what kind of terminologies are being used. So let's make the concept of taxonomy a little bit easy in reference to the other terminologies which are used along with. So taxonomy, now we know that this is the science and art, whatever anyone wants to call it, for the organization, classification, identifying the organisms or the taxa that we have, while considering their geographic distribution, their morphological characteristics, their seasonal morphs and everything. What does systematics tell us? So the systematics tell us the relationship of the organisms that they have with each other. So either they are closely associated or distantly associated. In the research papers, we can see different headings when it comes for the species identification. So those which are dealing with the taxonomy solely, they will be dealing with the new species only. That's it. They will just describe and illustrate the new species based on distinct morphological characters. However, when it comes for the systematics, they try to associate that why this species is present in this particular genus and why it is not there in another related genus. For example, in a family you have four genera, and by just walking or working you found a new species. Now systematics will tell you which genus or which family this new species that you have in your hand is more closely associated. So systematics actually helps to highlight the significance of morphological characters based on which you are going to identify your new species. What phylogeny does, it tells us what are the ancestral relationship of different taxon or different organisms each one have. So for example, when we say the bats and the whales and the tiger and the humans, they are all mammals. So it means there is a phylogenetic relationship of these, or although systematically they are placed in different groups, but phylogenetically they are associated because they are in the same group, which is mammals. So identification is simple. It is based on some characteristics. These identifications can be based on the morphological characters, which are general appearance, or behavioral characteristics can be used for the identification. I think one of the objectives in Dr. Sakib PhD was spider mites, those mite species which create webbings over the host plant. There are some characteristics in their webbing structures based on which we can identify the species. So identification can be based on behaviors, can be based on the morphology. An interesting scenario here could be that the species of the Crassopurla, in particular Crassopurla carnea, are based on these mating sounds. The when the male and female they are mating, how the sound they produce. Based on that, the uh, the identification occurs. So there is a hand raised. So should I stop or should I continue?
Yeah, please continue. Is there any issue?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, there is a hand raised. So someone is trying to raise a point, something. If someone having an issue in audio or something, I don't know.
No,
So I'm just want to stop and see if someone is having any issue.
yeah, one can send a message in the chat box if they
Okay,
have any
messages are
questions, so
fine.
let
If
me know. I
okay,
think
no
he just
problem.
want to
So
show
the last part
that
is.
he's here.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So yeah, nomenclature, the last definition that we go with is the naming. So there is a system of ICZN, the International Code for Nomenclature, Zoological Nomenclature, ICZN. So they have defined a system based on which we can name different species. So that can be based on a person who has found the new species, can be a locality, can be a host plant, can be a host insect from that species was first time collected or identified. So for till here, I have tried to make these categories in distinct definitions so everyone can understand what we are talking about in the next slides. If this is from me, I am so sorry. I don't know from where this red line came. However, so the question comes that why, after we know that this is taxonomy and this is systematics and this is phylogeny, why it matters? What's the significance it has? We can understand from this little joke which is shared over here that in the first category that we classify mammals based on their consistent monophyletic grouping in phylogenies and unique set of homologous characters. Like mammals, we have some homologous characters based on which homologous means same characters or similar characters based on which we identify mammals in one group. But at the same time, if we use this scenario, we do incorrectly classify platypus as a fish because of its aquatic adaptation and egg-laying. So platypus is also egg-laying mammal, a unique example in the mammal category. It's a unique organism. I suggest everyone to look at it on look it up on the internet. And the last one is we are correctly classifying the coconut as a mammal because it has hairs and produces milk. So the to understand the concepts of taxonomy is very important, because if we do not practice those concepts, we may actually include coconut in the mammals. The first example, or the most significant example that I can relate to in terms of why taxonomy matters, because it has made a history. The history goes back in 1800, where the Courtney Cushing scale attacked the citrus plantations in California, and there was no stopping to this Courtney Cushing scale in California, and the farmer used to burn their orchards on large scales just to get rid of this organism. There was no biocontrol agent present. So the scientists from the Ministry of Agriculture in USA, they were trying to find some suitable options as a biocontrol agents. But first of all, they have to find from where this pest from where it is native to. See, as I have mentioned before, the geographic distribution is very important in taxonomy. So what they were believing in the start, that this Courtney Cushing scale either is from New Zealand, and later on they assumed that no, it is from Morocco. And then somehow in 1888, there was an Australian entomologist, or a scientist, we can say on a safer side. He communicated with the US scientists who were working to control the Courtney Cushing scale, and told them that in Australia there is a dipteran parastoid which is actually controlling the scale in their region. The American scientists didn't believe the Australian scientists in the start, because at that time there was no dipteran parastoid was identified. So the taxonomy was lacking at that time. They were not aware of if there a dipteran can be. However, after quite a long cross communications, they sent two expeditions to the New Zealand and one to the Australia. So the one who went to the Australia, based on this communication, he didn't find any population or significant populations of the scale insects of this pest in the Australia. And then he went to that particular scientist who actually invited them to visit their area. And there in his orchard, these American scientists, they found this Courtney Cushing scale along with the dipteran parastoid. But the interesting thing happened, that while he was searching for the dipteran parastoid, he found Vidalia beetle feeding on the females of the scale insect. So what happened, that it was found out later on that the beetle actually was controlling the infestation of scale insects in the Australia, rather than the dipteran parastoid. So after a very long time of cross-border communication, this beetle was brought back to California, and this started as a foundation of classical biocontrol by 1889 of Courtney Cushing scale in California. So the very interesting statement they have mentioned in their record, that this established the biological control method like a shot heard around the world. So it was so loud, it was so strong, it was so impactful, that this actually laid the foundation of the classical biological control. And here's the link. If anyone wants to read the full story, all the names and everything, you are most welcome. The second example would be in South Africa, the invasive cacti was causing a serious problem, and this its management was delayed because the wrong identification occurred for the biocontrol agent, and that's why the delay in the taxonomic identification, or the problem in the taxonomic identification, led towards the vast area invasion of this cacti. However, later on, when they found out the correct cochineal herbivore, the invasive cactus population was declined. Similarly, the climbing this invasive fern, was also a serious issue, And the only biocontrol agent available was this mite, which is called as Floracarus peripe. However, there are different haplotypes. I would like to tell those who don't know what a haplotype is. Haplotype is kind of a organism, but it is different in its genetic makeup. Same species, sorry, same species but different in its genetic makeup. So through the molecular tools, they actually identified there is a certain haplotype which can be used for the control of this invasive fern. Another classical example is the weevil control through the host specific parasitoid. And it was identified through understanding the proper host phylogeny. The next example, why it matters that we should be concerned with the taxonomy, is this of the egg parasitoid Telenomus remus, correctly delimited and linked to Spodoptera. And this has been in the recent papers even has shown a potential for the management of armyworm. A negative example, kind of, is that this California red scale and its parasitoid Ephitis, if I am pronouncing it correctly, it failed in the start because the parasitoid was not correctly identified. So because confusion happened because of the identification of this parasitoid, which led to the misidentification of the species. And then later on, however, when they found out the correct species, which is actually managing and controlling this pest, the success was achieved. So through these examples, we can see that why taxonomy is mattering, because we are either just relying too much on the morphology, but we are not considering the bigger picture of taxonomy. So we have to take care of the geographic distribution, significance of morphological characters, see their morphs. So this is where taxonomy is, where it is the power of taxonomy is, that it shows you the actual way to control or manage the harmful impacts of the nature. The study of taxonomy in its broadest sense is probably the oldest branch of biology or natural history, as well as the basis for all the other branches, since the first step in obtaining any knowledge of things about us is to discriminate between them and to learn to recognize them. This is even true. Discrimination here is not in any negative sense, but it is in a positive sense, that when we even we do it for with our kids, with our children when they are small. So we give them different toys or different blocks or different things based on which they can identify what are soft objects, what are hard objects. So actually we humans, we are practicing taxonomical concepts from our birth. So we should be better at it. So coming towards the main headings of our today's talk is what taxonomy is playing a role in science. So there can be many different examples. I just forgot to mention this in the previous slide, that there can be many other successful examples or good examples where the taxonomy is showing its power. However, the purpose was to show you that if taxonomy is not working, there can be a disaster. And when taxonomy is working properly, great disasters can be avoided. Sorry. So the role of taxonomy in science starts with the public health. So when we can identify correctly those vectors which are causing diseases or spreading diseases in the human population, we can actually find a proper cure for them. If there is an improper identification, then the proper cure cannot be done. In agriculture, the best example comes from the biocontrol agents. So if the proper biological control agent is not identified based on its morphology or behavior or association with the pest organisms against which we are going to use it, we can have severe losses. In science, as in the start mentioned, the taxonomy gives us a language to speak to each other. So when we go and ask for the Spodoptera species, everyone knows in the scientific community what we are talking about. But when we try to talk about it in our native languages, we will see different question marks on the people's faces. So the taxonomy gives us a tool to talk to each other, even if we don't know each other's native languages. In the understanding the biodiversity, obviously for this topic, this point can be of interest to different aspects of the people. I would mention that in biodiversity does not only go with knowing or identifying what are the different species or different organisms are present in a certain area, but it also for the exploration for the endangered species which are facing problem because of the climate shift or because of the human activity. So when we go for the biodiversity studies, we see that taxonomy is playing a great role in establishing or maintaining the biodiversity balance in the environment. Similarly, goes for the biocontrol agents. In the last few years, in the King George University, there have been a project from the Ministry of Agriculture, which goes with the identification of the potential biological control agents in the kingdom. Because as presumed that the kingdom of Saudi Arabia is mostly desert, so usually if thinking of an idea in the past years of having any potential biocontrol agent in this region would be laughable. However, with the advancement of science and taxonomists, we found out that there are potential biocontrol agents in the region, and which have been proved globally and have been available commercially. Among them, Crassula carnea is the one which is natively available natively found in Saudi Arabia. So it all came with the virtue of the taxonomy. And Dr. Saqib have an interesting story, I think, regarding the identification of Crassula carnea. And if the time will allow, I will ask Dr. Saqib to share that how the taxonomical concepts were actually in play while we were dealing with the Crassula carnea populations. And in systematics and comparative biology, as mentioned in its definition, that systematics will tell us that where this certain species should actually belong. So taxonomy is the backbone of systematics. So if we don't have the morphological characteristics or other characteristics based on which the species can be identified or categorized or classified, systematics will not be of any certain use. So taxonomy and commerce, what taxonomy is going to do in the commerce. In general concept, all these industries of the agriculture, in particular, which are in use for the betterment of human. I didn't include the food industry over here in particular. I'm just trying to bring the concept of taxonomy, because the list can be very long, and this is one of the reasons that I found this topic or the subject a little bit difficult to handle. It's not because it is difficult to deliver, but it was because there were so many things that can be done or can be said, and it get it it got a little bit challenging to stay on the straight line, while not to stray away and not to keep the audience's attention away from this subject. So, however, all these four industries in the agriculture, in particular, related with the entomology, the main idea here is to identify or to reach a species which is better. Better in what? Honeybees, better in honey production, better in pesticide resistance, better in disease resistance. Silkworms, better in producing better silk. For the lac culture, better in producing lac, or for the dyes that we are going to get from them. In the biocontrol agents, better in the management of the pest. So the general idea of taxonomy is the identification, because wrong identification will lead us towards a wrong species, which will give us a wrong yield or a production, or undesired yield or production, which is in ultimately is going to cost money. And regional quarantine is one of the important area in commerce and trade, because it is related with the local or international trade. So taxonomy helps us to identify those species which are of quarantine concern. They should not move from one place to another, or if they do, the it's the job of taxonomist on the ports or airports, or on the crossing borders, that he identifies and selects and tells the general community that this organism or this item cannot move into the country or cannot move outside the country because of this presence of certain quarantine issue pest. I think if I do remember correctly, there was a shipment in early 2000 uh, of shipment of Pakistan to Australia, probably about the rice that had the weevil in it, and they dumped whole the shipment. If someone remembers this scenario from the audiences, please after the presentation, if they can correct me. But I remember that the shipment of rice from Pakistan to, I think, China or Australia, it was dumped in the sea because the quarantine department found the infestation of weevil in the shipment. So this is the what the significance of taxonomy is in the quarantine, that the spread of the invasion can be actually stopped. And when invasion occurs in Saudi Arabia recently, there are two mealybug invasive pest species which are causing problem, and there are agricultural scientists who are working on to stop its infestation. And this is the serious problem to control. An invasion occurs only in this scenario when the local biocontrol agents or local practices, they are either not helping to reduce this invasion or helping actually to boost this invasion. So taxonomy plays its critical role. Here, the taxonomy conservation, I have mentioned it as a brotherhood. They are very closely associated or related with each other. I will take the conservation as a separate science and also conservation as a pillar of the biological control agent. Recently, I had the experience to work with one of the team in Saudi Arabia, where they are trying to protect some areas where the biocontrol agents can be captured and re-released, so that naturally their population is established. So the hotspots we are creating, or in the entomological term, when we say that the insect hotels are being created, protected environments are given to them, so that these potential organisms, which are actually playing a serious role in the stabilizing the ecosystem and the biodiversity of a certain area, can stay in their certain place. So, for example, conserving a single species that represents an entire genus or a family can protect a significant amount of evolution diversity. If any one of you is being connected with these science journals, journals means those which are publishing as news articles online, you can see that nowadays there are different certain species from, I think, from Pakistan even, which are getting extinct or endangered over the globe. So taxonomy tells us that if there is a certain species, only one species of that whole genus or whole order is remaining. All other organisms or all other texts are gone. So taxonomy or taxonomists tell us that these organisms are of severe interest, and we have to take special care of them. Recently, in Saudi Arabia, there was a big project, and I think it was running for last 2 years, which was for the conservation of the wildlife. And I think last month or month before the last, they released a variety of deers and ostriches in the wild, which they were rearing in captivity or breeding in captivity, and they have re-released once they captured, and then they re-release in the wild or natural habitat. So they are actually, Saudi Arabia is now more proactive towards towards stabilizing the biodiversity. And yes, they have a team of taxonomists who identify which species they have to take care of. So yeah, this come brings us to the important question, that should I become a taxonomist? So yes, go ahead. There's a large amount of money waiting for you. I have just selected certain websites where you can sell insects. See this one. This is 16 mixed Brazilian tiger beetles for $300. So you can earn a lot of money by selling those what we can say unspeakable organisms, unspeaking organisms, non-speaking arthropods. You can just sell them and earn a lot of money, and you will have a great home and a nice sports car, and you will have this home in front of a sea view. So go ahead, be a taxonomist. Actually, no, this is not the idea. So the taxonomist, if someone wants to pursue, this is a hard road. So no one should bypass. Number one thing to remember or to understand is no one should bypass the concepts of taxonomy. and that we will recap in the next slide. But when someone wants to pursue the taxonomist, being a taxonomist in the specific career, so there are jobs. I happen to have seen, I didn't find it for this particular presentation, the screenshots that I had seen the jobs from the museums, from the natural history, from London, and there are from the USA, I guess. So there are jobs being posted for the taxonomists in the museum, and they are sometimes part-time and they are sometimes full-time jobs. And even on the, I think on the ESA websites, there are Entomological Society of America, ESA websites. They are actually encouraging the young scientists and people to help them, because every day this science is growing. The science of taxonomy is growing, because every day there are new species and new taxon are being identified and discovered. So people need taxonomists, although these jobs are either locally advertised or not that much pronounced. However, there are jobs in the museum, in the business, agriculture, and environment. This is what we saw in the last slide. As a diagnostic entomologist, when I was in Pakistan in 2012, after finishing my master's, there was a huge need of entomologists by the Ministry of Health for the management of dengue vector. And I think since then they are still hiring people who are in the diagnostic entomologists for the animal or human health. Data technologist and communication role. Uh, this is a little bit of concern. However, policy funding and meta taxonomic roles, where the taxonomists can actually play a critical role in defining policies for the conservation and for the quarantine purposes. So before we leave, let's recap what we have gone through. So understand the core concept of taxonomies. It is whether it is in the science or in not in the science. So see, the this is the beauty of the concept itself, that when you have understood the concept, you can actually apply it in different aspects of life, even if it is a certain concept of a science, but you can use it in your daily life. So when you have understood the concept of taxonomy, you can have an organization in your life. You can organize things, you can categorize things, you can have a better output of your time. So most important thing is that we have to apply the true taxonomy and keep it free from corruption. What it means that true taxonomy, it means that we have to be patient. We have to uh, deal with the characteristics, with the ecological nodes, with the geographic distribution of the each species in such a way that we are actually trying to explore the biodiversity, or we are actually trying to explore uh, the fauna of the area. I think I would also say that Dr. Saqib have a good experience in the recent days and the recent months about the quarantine issues that he was facing. So yeah, so let's keep it free from corruption. I Jazakallah khair. Thank you. I thank Dr. Saqib that he has been standing on his feet, as he shared with me his endeavors, his journey, that he kept it free from corruption, that he kept it free from any false happening. It requires seriousness and dedication, and we have to see long-term benefits rather than immediate gains when we are dealing with the taxonomy. And this last line is usually said in our lab. Our supervisor, he usually says that there is no gun pointed at your head that you have to identify a new species. So those who are dealing this science for the publication, so deal it with ethics and deal it with the true concepts or core concepts. Don't be in a hurry to identify the species, and that the rightfully statement has been said that species, when you are identifying it as new species, that should speak itself. Its morphological characters should speak itself that I'm a new species, rather than you are forcing it to become a new species. So lastly, we have now many of the answers that once eluded Darwin, thanks to two developments that he could not have imagined: continental drift and molecular taxonomy. So yeah, so molecular taxonomy, integrated taxonomy using DNA sequences is giving us answers for many speciations, cryptic species, sibling species, solving the issues of conservation, of quarantine, and of developing new. So not, I would not go for developing new strains, but to identifying new strains which are more productive in the business, either it is of honey or it is of silk production, or when it comes for the biological control in the agriculture. So I thank everyone for their patience. I know it was a little bit rough. I have tried to put it as straight as much possible, but I may have missed some key points. So learning is a two-way process. So cross questions and suggestions will keep us learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jawad, for such a nice and knowledge presentation. Now, inshallah, we will take some questions from our respected participants, and I think they shared some questions in the chat box. So, few questions we can take from the chat box, and if someone want to ask directly to our respected speaker, just please raise your hand so you can ask directly. We will open your mic. Thank you. Dr. Jawad, please, you can read some questions that shared in the chat box, and briefly you can
Okay,
answer.
I will do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. The first comment is, sir, voice is not coming. So brother, you should have opened the windows or doors so that it should come. Okay, it was not a comment. Okay, it was before. Oh, sorry. I thought it was a comment. Okay, then we have, okay, let me reach to the questions. Okay, here's, I think, first question from Mohammed Wasif. That would be, when we discover a new insect or any organism, what immediate steps we do, how to identify and preserve that insect. Okay, generally, when we discover a new insect, so first of all, you have to know that if it is a new or not. So there are steps. The first step, as you have mentioned, is of preservation. So every organism has its own way of preservation. Larger arthropods, they are usually penned. I will not go for their collection from the field, so because it is also different for different organisms. I had the experience in Nibji for the collection of larger butterflies. We usually inject them with the ethanol after collecting them carefully, catching them carefully. Medium-sized arthropods were killed in the cyanide chambers. Macro or micro lepidopterans were also there was a chemical, I forgot, isopropanol, I guess. They were using isopropanol to kill them. Similarly, they have been used in the Saudi Arabia by the Insect Museum for killing the arthropods. So preservation goes differently. I would suggest a unique method. If no one is using that, if someone is using, that's great. So there is a butter paper usually used when I was in Nibji, the collection of the arthropods, it's grasshoppers or the hemipterans or anyone, it was done in the butter paper. So the butter paper keeps the moisture away from keeps the inner environment safe for your collection material. So the specimen remains for a long time in its right form. So coming for the preservation, some are penned, some are saved in the ethanol. You have to see the organism that you are dealing with. What is the protocol from the published literature? What is the protocol for them for the preservation? For the mites, if I say I have more experience in mites, so it goes in two different ways. One is the ethanol. You can preserve them in ethanol, or there is a solution of ethanol and lactic acid all together in certain proportions you can use for the preservations. And how to know if you have a new species or not? So first thing, you have to see the published literature for the taxonomic or identification keys. If there is a key available for the genus in which your organism belong to, that's good, or the family your organism belong to. So we usually start with the higher from the higher ranks. So you start with the family, you identify your specimen's family, then you go to its genus, and then for the species, if there is an identification key available. If there is no identification key available for that genus, the next step is the host association and the geographic distribution. Usually the species which are available in your region, they came from the neighboring areas. So geographic distribution helps us to correctly identify the species. If there is another question related to that, can be. I hope that I have answered it in a nice way.
Yeah, mashallah.
So I just want to know that should I continue reading
Yeah, please.
the comments? Okay. Okay. Why is scientific naming binomial nomenclature is important? This is from Muhammad Sabtain. It is important, if I understand your question correctly, in an example that uh, the organisms, for example, if I say the ticks, which are, or let's say bed bugs, which are in your language will be khatmal. So most of the audiences in the audience, there are some foreign non-Urdu or non native speakers. They will not understand what khatmal is. But when you will tell them their scientific name, they will truly understand what you are talking about. So same goes, that's the significance of the scientific naming, binomial nomenclature. So binomial nomenclature system developed by, there is a trinomial nomenclature in which the subgenus name is added. So, but mostly accepted is binomial nomenclature, and it is important. So there is a unified communication among the global scientists. I have, and I think Dr. Saqib may have also faced this problem that sometimes the literature is too old, of 1700 or 1800 or 1600 years, that it is in their native languages. They didn't care to translate in one language, and sometimes we should not go why this happened. But however, there is literature available in their own languages, in Russian or in French or in Bulgarian, whatever the language the people they were speaking. But in even in their native language publications, the scientific names remain the same. So it is another way to keep the scientific community connected with each other. So whenever we come to a common place as a conference or a seminar or a webinar internationally, so when we come from different parts of the world and we tell each other that we are here for the certain, like let's say Aedes aegypti, we are here for Aedes aegypti. Everyone knows that why we are here. It is for the dengue vector. When you say it in your common name that we are here for the machar, nobody will care why you are here. So here's the benefit of scientific naming, as I can understand.
All right.
Do you
Please.
have insect identification keys for me? Yes, I have. What insect do you have? It will be the right question. If you have a certain insect of interest, I think the this forum, this Global Entomologist Network, can help in a great way. I have found an insect in tomato field. This is from Saru. Sorry, the previous question was I don't want to pronounce his name wrong. So I will say Bazemon, the last name only I will say. So probably the first name is Jax, if I'm not wrong. I don't know.